we're going to receive a staff presentation for the consideration and approval of the final concept for the renovation of the AC Caplinger Sports Complex and discussion of possible funding options.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brad Rainey, Parks and Recreation Director. And I'm here to present on two items on the agenda tonight. One is the final concept for the renovation of the AC Caplinger project, and also a contract with a construction manager at risk to help get this project moving forward. Just want to acknowledge that James Hazard from Halff is here with us. He was the consultant that led us through the master planning process for the project. Let's get to the next slide here. There we go. Oh, hopefully it doesn't skip ahead several times now. Just to get your bearings, this is the project location. This is, thing's not wanting to work tonight. Okay, pointer's not working, but that's the complex as it lies right now. To the south, where you see all the trees, is Hafer Park. To the left, Bryant, and to the north, the Readiness Center. Okay, if I could just get it to move. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, just a little bit of background before we get to the concept. The fields have been around for a little while. This is kind of the oral history from some staff that have been here for a really long time, but built in the 1970s. They've served their useful purpose. The fields, the complex is in need of replacement, especially some of the infrastructure there. There was a master plan completed in 2018, and it's been attempted to move this forward for quite a while. After the last attempt, we took a pause and completed a kind of a citywide sport field utilization study with Victus, which was presented to you this summer. And this kind of confirmed that both the fields at AC Caplinger and Mitch Park were highly recommended and rated as projects that we should pursue. And of existing facilities, they rated the highest of our existing sports facilities. So after we completed that, we re-engaged Halff to revise or create almost a new master plan in September of 2023. And we came up with the final plan, and they've been approved by the stakeholder group, which I'll talk a little bit more about, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, and the Capital Improvement Advisory Board, all in December. They've all looked it over and have approved. And during this time, while this plan was going on, we put an advertisement out for a construction manager at risk. And after interviews, we're recommending Crossland Construction for that role. So how did we get to the final concept? We had lots of engagement and meetings. We had an owners group. Councilman Robbins served on that with us. That was kind of city management staff. We had an advisory group, which consisted of city staff that was going to be approving some of the plans. We had engineering and stormwater and fire department and IT. They're all involved at giving feedback, and then the stakeholder group, which consisted of the operators, staff, and several citizen parent representatives on that group. There were several detailed surveys that were given and a chance for discussion and lots of opportunities to give feedback. After the first round of meetings, Halff delivered 2 concepts. And then after that, there was a lot of discussion and back and forth, and that's how we ended up on this final concept. It's kind of a combination of those two. The concept delivers on all the items desired by all of the groups. Not everyone got exactly what they wanted, everything that they wanted, but I think there was agreement on the concept. So here is the concept, and I'll just point out a few things. There we go. Okay. Kind of get bearings. This multicolored roof is the existing concession stand. That is being renovated right now and should be done by March, by the start of the spring season. That's the one thing that's going to stay. Everything, and I'll show you a side-by-side of old and new, but everything else is essentially going to be replaced. Just some things to highlight. My notes here. So the existing concession stays. The current complex has 12 fields. This has 10, but these are much bigger, more flexible fields for a variety of different activities. The amount of parking increases. That was one of the major items that was brought up. So this essentially stays the same, mill and overlay, and then brings it up to the current code. You can see expansion here in parking where we'll add some spaces, and then a maintenance yard. Currently, the maintenance yard is kind of out in the middle of everything, and this adds it off to the side where staff can park and free up some spaces too. There's drop-off lanes added on both sides that don't exist now that can also help with traffic flow. The orientation of the fields you'll see they're completely reoriented. It's a more efficient layout, much less of a distance to get from this field, the far out field, to the restroom. There's also an additional restroom here that will be new and added to the complex, along with an office for staff and umpires. One of the big items that was brought up a lot was synthetic turf. So the brown in the infield represents synthetic turf. The green grass is natural grass. So this includes synthetic turf infields for all of the fields. This increases playability on a day like today. If we had baseball season, we probably could have played today despite all the rain, and that's what that allows, and much less maintenance to get it ready for games. Lots of shade added behind each home plate or bleachers with shade covers. There's shelters, a play structure right here with shade over it in the conceptual design. Those are kind of the highlights. This right here is just a spot for potential batting cages in the future, but is not part of this project. So just real quick, I'll show you this kind of side by side of kind of current versus proposed, and you can kind of see how the layout is all changed, and we'll show you some more pretty pictures too. But I just want to pause and see if there's any questions on this concept that anybody has before I move on to more information.
Council, any questions right now?
No, looks great.
Do you know off the top of your head the number of increased parking spaces?
It's about 30 right now in the parking lots, with potentially another 30 for that with that maintenance yard, freeing up spots for staff. So that's one of the challenges of this master plan, and saying not everybody got exactly what they wanted. Mm-hmm. If you want to add more parking, then you're looking at taking away fields and trying to balance that. And we feel like we've achieved some balance here in this concept. So to show some more images. It's really slow tonight. Oh, thank you. Just a 3D rendering of kind of an overhead shot of what it's going to look like. And then I'll just highlight the entryway here. See the ADA access, which will be a huge improvement to the site. Currently, those where there's steps, it's a very steep slope to get into the site. So a lot of those infrastructure things are going to be addressed. Go ahead. Just another shot of that entryway right there. I'm going to keep going. So just some agreements to move this project forward. If you approve of this tonight, on this agenda, we have the construction manager at risk. Right now, over the next month, we anticipate they'll begin pre-construction services. So they'll take a look at the opinion of costs that we got from Halff and confirm that, look at a project timeline. So we'll hopefully approve that tonight, and then in a month, we'll bring back the design agreement with Halff to do complete design, permitting, construction documents, all the way through the project. But we want to let the construction manager at risk take a look at everything first, and then we'll move on to that. And go ahead. So just estimated cost and timeline right now. The opinion of cost from the architect was $15.32 million. That includes a 20% contingency, so a pretty large contingency, as well as maybe some allowances in there, not allowances, but just in the budget estimate for what we know about the site. It's just a challenging site. And that also includes the fee for the construction manager at risk. We anticipate a $1.3 million contract for complete design of the facility, which we could bring back to you in a month. The current concession and restroom is being renovated right now. That's just under $500,000, and we anticipate completion by the end of March 2024. So over the next 3 weeks, as we prepare for that council meeting, we'll look to finalize the project budget and timeline with the construction manager and bring that design contract to you, and then we can fully move on the project. We're estimating 6 months for the complete design. It is a little bit faster because design work's been done in the past and we're using the same consultant for that. And then kind of timeline, we're looking at holding the spring 2024 season, hopefully having some big, beautiful signs of what it's going to look like in the future coming soon. And then when that's over, attempting to start construction by fall, hopefully sooner than that, but hopefully by fall begin construction, and then at least a year for construction. But some of those things we're going to finalize over the next 3 weeks when we work with the construction manager at risk. Go to the next one. So some of the funding and some of this information was proposed to the Capital Improvements Advisory Board. Right now in the budget, we have $8 million for the project. That was related to what we maybe attempted before, which is a phased approach. I believe it was either 4 or 6 fields that went out to bid a couple of years ago. So we're looking to do the whole thing all at one time and getting it done, get in, get out. And there'll be disruption, but shorten the disruption instead of prolonging it out over several years. And so out of that $8 million, looking at using some of that for design, and then hopefully demo if we can move fast enough in this fiscal year, and then carrying over money into the next fiscal year for construction. Also, when we presented to CIP, we talked about Pelican Bay. We talked about this quite a bit, but currently has no funding, and we know some work needs to be done there. So we're proposing around $5 million. We'll finalize some of these things when we come back in February. Right now we've done leak detection. We're going to be making some repairs to reduce the amount of leaks to get ready for the next season. And then this week, the full assessment of the facility and conceptual design will begin this Thursday, actually. Go ahead and go to the next one. So that's kind of the funding that we need, and this is kind of where we're planning on getting, or we're proposing to get some money from. Currently, the rectangular fields project has some money in this year and the next fiscal year. That project is still in the conceptual phase. We just approved an additional traffic study. We still need to kind of select where we think that might go. We'll work with the Parks Board for this. So if council wants to continue to move forward, we would look in years 3 to 5 of a 5-year budget. So some of the money would come from there. The former Bickham softball complex was, I guess, removed or used for the expansion of the wastewater treatment facility. There's some money budgeted there in this fiscal year, and then in a few fiscal years for construction. We're currently working with our water resources team on some concepts there to make something really neat that we hope to present to you soon. But we're working together in partnership to see if we can come up with some good ideas there. So we're working on that, but not quite ready for the limelight on that one. If we go to the next slide. And then the indoor sports complex, there's currently $5 million and possibly reducing that to $3 million this year. I don't know if you want to go on to the next slide. So final slide. Like I said, we've, in the month of December, Parks and Rec Advisory Board reviewed these agreements and approved them. They looked over the concept and just a general presentation of the recommendations for funding. Capital Improvement Advisory Board, they all approved unanimously in December. And we also recommend approval of the concept and the agreement with the construction manager at risk. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions. this time.
And this may be for the city manager or you, Brad, but I feel like since the CMAR process is relatively new, this might be a great opportunity. Just take a minute or two to kind of explain how that's unique and how it keeps us, those change orders from coming in and keeps us in budget. Because I think that's really an important switch on our projects that we're doing right now and going to be doing on this one. So I don't know which one of you guys wants to
I'll take it.
take any opportunity to get that information out to the public.
Thanks, Brad, for the presentation. This is a
Absolutely.
big project. It's an important project for
Yeah.
the community. It's, if you go back to your council strategic plan, I think it's one of those that scored 100% across the board for all the council members. CMAR, which stands for Construction Manager at Risk, is different than what I'll call it traditional, I'll call it age-old type of development most cities and towns do, which is you design, 100% design, then you go to bid, and then you construct. So, the traditional way you design the whole thing, think you have a budget, you go out to bid, find out, is it going to fit in the budget or not? And if it's not going to fit in the budget, then it has to either come back and redesign the project to scale it down, or the city has to decide, do I fund it, or whether the bid comes in. Construction Manager at Risk takes a different approach, which still hires a design firm early on, gets them designing the process. At about 30% of design, you bring on your construction manager, your contractor, get them on board, and cooperatively, they work together to design a project to meet a project budget that a city council or a state or whoever sets for the project. And through that whole process, let's just say that we set the budget at 16.5, it's 16.5. And between the design consultant and the contractor, their effort is to make sure that project comes in at or below that amount. That may mean design changes to the process. That may mean, like in the course of our City Center complex and our YMCA library project, the oversight committee reviews proposed changes to make sure it stays within budget, and then the project moves forward. But the goal is you don't wait all the way through 100% design, lock yourself in, then find out the bid that you don't have enough money. This way, you set the project, you set the construction budget limit, and that's the project limit. And so we can have much better control, value engineer through the whole process versus traditionally what might happen is you may think the budget's this, find out what the bid is, end up spending more and more and more. So we think it's a better way to do the projects. You'll see this more and more from city staff recommending to city council.
Thank you so much.
I just wanted to say one thank you, Director Rainey, since you've been joined the team here at Edmond. You've gone through and advised us on kind of deferred maintenance or projects, and I think you and your entire team have been very responsive and communicative. And I really appreciate the initiative and plan to go through and lay out what the options are and identify certain challenges. In my opinion, people move to Edmond for quality of life, and top of those happen to be our park and recreation facilities. And I think often, at least I have, and I think others have received comments or feedback regarding specifically our sports facilities as it relates to baseball and softball. And when we use the word bulldoze as far as what we decide to do, we get a big smile back, because really, instead of just going at a piecemeal and having disruptions over multiple seasons and shutdowns and have costs go up, getting everyone together like we've been able to do and say, okay, if we upgrade in a way that provides great quality of life for our citizens, our residents, that can welcome guests, something that we can all be proud of, I really believe that this works towards it. And though it took a minute to get there, through a couple iterations, I think what this represents is really something, when the first pitch gets thrown out, will be something that we can celebrate as a community. So look forward to continue to serve on that committee. Appreciate your work. Look forward to having more citizen input on it. But I think these are the type of things that I think really are special, and why people are here and what they want us to invest in. And I think looking at our assets that we have now, before we go create additional things that we need to maintain, is a smart choice, and appreciate your leadership on that.
Thank you, Councilman.
When we look at our schedule, and if we approve this going with the CMAR, when can we expect that budget for us to be,
In his proposal, he said we'd be back on February 12th, right?
With the project budget.
Yeah,
And
so
then
we'll come
and at
back.
some point, the CMAR would establish the guaranteed maximum price.
Yep.
Right?
okay. So you go out and do all the
Pre-construction.
Pre-construction, evaluation.
So on the 12th, we'll bring back the design proposal contract, as well as the CMAR will bring forward and say, this is, after looking at the design project, looking at what we see in the construction industry and supply chain, here's what a true cost of what we think this project will be. And then council will make a determination, do they support that or decide to go less or more, whatever it may be.
Okay, that's when we'll set, okay, very good. Council, any other questions? Very good.